you guys have managed to make it work, but you also don't have to compete with the 3 other codes that we do as well. AFL's the number 1 sport. Rugby league is a close second. Your rugby's down with soccer.
Where did rugby spiral down?
It started when Johnny Wilkinson kicked that bloody field goal.
Dun, 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 dun. Hey, Ruckers, welcome back to your number 1 rugby podcast. It's showtime. Strip yourself in because I'm the JDJ and next to me is the Roly Poly.
It's the Krispy Kreme donut. Okay. It's the short one. It's Rudy Page. Let's go, Ruckers.
Yes.
This is going to be a great episode. You guys are in for a treat. Okay?
Yes. Copy and paste. I like that, yeah. Otherwise, you could, hey.
Partner, the Bokke won the Rugby Championship.
Yes.
We're in the house. I can't wait. We've got 2 of the best guests. They played against each other. Now they are masters in rugby. I can't even.
Let's get to the lineup. But before we get to the lineup, the guys behind the ruck is supported by Super Sport Bet, the one and only. And then we have our apparel sponsor, Old School. But we got the new sheriff in town. New sheriff in town. Ticket Pro is in the building. Can you believe it? Ruckers, get used to this.
Settle down. We're going to make sure that you guys go to a lot of rugby games.
Yes.
Even go to some concerts. I don't know.
Yes.
But for all your ticket needs, Ticket Pro is the number 1 destination.
Yeah, so stay tuned. Hey,
and let's know
yeah, there we go. Line it up because you teased me with what? What did you tease me with? Who's
2.
up?
Not just 1. We've got 2 guests on this episode. Guys, it's like going on a date with your wife, okay? You don't go there for burger and chips. You make sure you get the starters, you get your mains and your dessert. In this week's episode of Behind the Ruck, we got 2 former stars. I don't just want to say rugby players. It's stars. It's a big deal, okay? This is a big episode. We got Gio Aplon to talk about all things Springbok, okay? Power Ranger. Then we got another Power Ranger.
okay.
Yes, but he played in the other gold.
Yes.
The most gold, okay?
The kangaroo.
Oh, kangaroo. We have one of the mates in the house in this episode.
Good day, mate.
We got Berrick Barnes, who won a lot of trophies. He played in Japan, and we're going to make sure that we catch up with him. We hear what he's up to, because South Africans, we miss our Super Rugby, and we miss our Australians. But on this episode, and in this show, we sort you out, okay? So it's Gio Aplon and Berrick Barnes on the episode. Yes.
Stop spoiling them.
No. Huh? It's almost Christmas time. We make sure that we sort our audience out.
Okay.
Exactly.
And while we're there, let's get there.
Let's go.
Okay. Up next, Berrick Barnes. Ooh. Oi, good day, Ruckers. Hey, live and direct, we got Berrick Barnes in the house. Berrick Barnes. Huh? They gave us a lot of headaches, but we're not going to talk about that, eh? Barnes, welcome to Behind the Ruck, eh?
What a pleasure, boys. What a professional setup.
Thank you. So, I thought you were going to be a little bit irritated with all this green and gold, but we're not.
It's an honour, mate. We even dressed up in a bit of green and gold the other night. First time I reckon I supported the Boks in a test for a while. I got on the bandwagon. We were down in Kloof Street there on the beers with a few locals, and it was bloody great fun.
Yeah, awesome. Tell our Ruckers, first of all, our viewers, what are you doing in Cape Town? What are you doing in South Africa?
Mate, I'm here with the Japanese women's team. So we were fortunate enough to play your country women last Friday.
Yeah, Friday, 4 o'clock,
Yeah, and it was a great game. I think it was probably the game of the weekend, to be fair, and went right down to the wire. Unfortunately, you girls got the chocolates. It was 31-all essentially, and then our try got reversed. So you guys took it home. So look, it hurts. It was a game of contrasting styles. You guys have got some genetically blessed girls. They're massive. You know what I mean? They're strong and they're powerful, and it's beautiful to watch. And we're small, we're quick. Yeah. Man, we've got to use kicking game and passing, and our girls were brilliant. I couldn't fault them. The effort, the courage. So it was great.
So how long now? How long have you been coaching them?
Mate,
when did you retire as well?
I retired. I came back for surgery at the start of COVID from Japan, where I was playing, and I just thought, you know what, I'm done.
That's it.
I walked off the field that day. I'd broke my leg. I'd had back surgery. I'd had something. I'd bicep tendon done, and it was back to back to back. And I'm like, who are you kidding? And then 4 months later, I was playing bush footy at Leedshead.
Oh my gosh,
where I was living. So in COVID, which was awesome because, man, the whole town got around it in COVID.
Yes.
And because everyone was back, like live in a small surf town, and rugby's actually pretty popular there.
Yeah. And
the boys would get the doof going on the sideline. They're having half a rave party over the sideline. And while the footy was going, it was great fun. But times have changed now and reality's back to normal.
So why coaching?
Yeah.
Well, I was sort of doing it at Panna anyway, Panasonic.
Okay.
So I was fortunate enough to spend 6 seasons there, and Robbie Deans, who was obviously my Wallaby coach for a long time, he became the Panasonic coach, and we had a sort of pretty skeleton staff there. So I would run the backs as well as play, especially for my last 2 or 3 years there, and it was good of him to give me that flexibility to learn. And I'll tell you what, mate, you think you know a bit as a player, but when you've actually got a coach on, my respect levels for him just through the roof, And so I learned a little bit there. I love that. I not so much dissecting. I just like the people side of it, competing, and And mate, look, I don't know. I started 4 uni degrees and finished none. So Rudy
I knew we had something in common, and I never knew it is the studies that we were in.
In and out.
I think I've got 5. I started 5.
Did ya?
5, I have nothing. I'm again the first student this year. Yep.
Okay, but this one,
But I
we
promised
go
my
in
mother, Berrick, that I will get a degree
all the way.
even if I have to be at 50. I don't care. But I
fight
need
for
to
it.
find something that's easy because I
You're
don't
getting
know.
a master's in podcasting right now, eh?
Yeah.
I'm going completely off the rugby track here, but I start off every year when I study with such a bang. I am motivated.
It's hot.
I'm
It's
disciplined.
coming in hot.
I come in hot. I cancel every meeting. I'm going to study this year.
And
then
then?
by the middle of the year, then
What is it?
I've missed 3 assignments. I've missed a test. And
And once you let one
postponing.
go, it's a ripple effect. Huh?
So, yeah.
So, because I found it hard, mate. I was really good at focusing on one thing, tunnel vision. So, my uni's going good, footy was going shit. And when my footy was going good, I could tell you what, uni was bloody out the back door.
Yeah.
So, I think I've worked out now that I'm pretty good with my tunnel vision.
Okay.
And then, I've just got to, I don't know. I don't know, mate. I've got a lot of interests outside of footy, but I found the study one a hard one. And look, the thing is too, mate, unless you're going to do that career, if you're not doing that career you studied for, then it's pretty damn useless.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it happens to a lot of people.
Guys, I want to use it in a conversation. That's the only place I want to use a degree for.
Dr. Page.
It's a conversation. You know, when you get to the airport and you're sitting in the lounge and you're talking to people. So what do you do now? I've got a master's in marketing.
Hey.
Only time a degree is good.
Yeah.
My partner. Yes.
Very quickly, you've got a podcast as well. The ball and all. What's going on?
So we started that in COVID as a project. Pretty much, I came home. As with all rugby players who retire, you go through that transition phase and you're like, man, what am I going to do next? Because I had routine, I had structure, I had my mates, and now I'm like, shit. And mate, I was lucky I had 7 acres, chickens, veggie gardens and everything, but I did a lot of lawn mowing. And I was on that ride-on mower a lot, and I listened to a lot of podcasts and a whole vast array from, Rogan to Lex Friedman and a whole bunch of sort of stuff. But I was like, look, why can't we do a local podcast that gets local athletes and people in the area who've done good, and you sort of get them in and we just talk to them pretty much. And we started with 3 guys, and we ended up with we were doing live podcasts in the end. 800 people was the biggest one we did. We raised a shitload of money for that, which was great. But just a lot of surfing content because in our town we got like a Lennox Head, sort of a world-class point break. So we actually had Sean Thompson, one of your South African legends, on, and that was probably one of the best ones we did. I thought, like, his stuff on the code and what he goes around and promotes and that is quite profound. So he was a really touching one. And then you get other ones, guys. It's a laugh a minute too. So no, we've been blessed, mate. It's been really good.
Challenges? I have my challenge with our podcasting. I don't know.
Tell me where yours is going. What's your challenge this week?
Follow my eyes, but don't look now.
My challenge is sitting right over here. No, I think our challenge. What is our challenge, partner?
Now we got a lot of challenges, yeah. Just making sure everything is on place, on time.
I think sometimes for me it's probably problem solving. We did Juan Pinar once and we forgot to press record. So we did a whole conversation where we spoke and he was open about his career and we got this electrifying conversation. And once we stopped and the two of us looked at each other.
Only visuals, no audio.
No audio recorded. And we had to do that all
And he was a
over.
legend. He said, okay, let's take a take 2.
He's a good man, eh? Here's another one. This is my worst one anyway. We did a guy, Craig Fitzgibbon. He's the coach of the Cronulla Sharks in the NRL. And we did them all in person as well, just in the shed in the backyard of my place with chickens and shit going everywhere. And anyway, I've finished the podcast, went for about, nearly 2 hours. It was a long one.
Yeah.
And and I've got a little micro SD chip which you get out of these Rode ones, and then you put in and do your editing. And I was like, boys, I called them. I said, I can't find the damn thing, eh? And I'm like, I can't. I've just lost it. Like I've just had so lucky to get this bloke to come in and give us 2 hours of his time. I can't find it. So there I am. I'm thinking, where could it be? Looked everywhere, and I went right down the front yard, and I went, look, I'll just check the bins. So I'm scrounging through the bins and everything, and there I found that popping out of the avocado, the avocado core was the micro SD card. Saved it, got it in, and we and got the podcast.
So it's not too bad. We're not too bad.
No, you guys are going pretty good.
But we are a rugby podcast. Let's stick to a little bit of rugby.
Yes.
Talked about the Rugby Championship. Okay, you obviously watched a couple of games. You've been following your country, man, Australia. How's the Rugby Championship been?
Look, hard again, but not. I wouldn't say it's. I wouldn't have. I didn't expect it to go differently for us, if you want to put it that way. I thought we were going to be hard at it. Yeah.
Is it?
I was fortunate enough to be involved with Eddie and the boys last year, and it's not through lack of want or try or effort. These guys are out there giving it their all, but we, just at the moment, there probably isn't the cattle. I'd say that we need to compete with you guys. You know, you got to. I wouldn't say it's you got a once in a generation team, but you had a pretty good one when we were playing too, mate. Like when Victor and Bucky's and Brian and the list goes on was pretty, and yourselves. Like that sort of, that was a pretty good era too. But this is, you got two teams now who can pretty much dominate.
Yeah.
The All Blacks are going through a transition, but I think the biggest improvers this year have just been Argentina.
Yeah.
Just the consistency. Like I know that they tend to, that Latin flair, they can only really get it up for 1 or 2 games. They've got it up for 3 or 4 this year. And winning away from home, they're one of the few teams that can win in NZ.
And I've actually been awfully impressed by the skill set.
Yeah. Exactly, the attacking ability and the moves, the shapes.
The transfers. Yeah. For me, that's something that stood out completely.
I was also impressed, with
And Contepomi bringing a bit of something different, middle rucks and shaping to one side, bringing it across to the 10. So Argentina is definitely got something, and they a team that doesn't even have a provincial or a club system. All of their players are playing in Europe, so that is. Yeah. I'm really in awe of how they do it and how they get 2-3 weeks before a international tournament and still put out a competitive product.
And then they're good in World Cups too, like Czech and what he did there with Felipe and all those guys. Like it's a what they do have a consistency of players too. They rarely have to rotate their squad. You see them sort of year in, year out. They rolling these blokes out. But it's they've got some electric backs now. It used to be like if you could handle their scrum, you could kind of win the game. Yeah. But now, mate, it's handling their back three and the ability. They're great on counter.
I worked at the test in Nelspruit actually in the size of their backs. That was actually what stood out to me.
Is it?
Yeah, they're quite physical and like real athletes. They're really big boys.
They're not tall, but they're small, but they're physical.
Yes, don't say small. That's not a nice word. Okay?
Otherwise, you're going to relate.
Let's be honest, we're all small here, boys.
It's a trigger word. Yeah. It's a trigger word for me, small, okay, partner? But how does Australia rugby, I don't want to say turn it around, because next year, British and Irish Lions are coming around.
Shit.
What would you do? What would you advise them? How can they make it this whole thing turn around? Because that's going to be a daunting challenge.
It's massive.
What you guys are talking is a long-term fix, and we got a short-term problem coming up, which is the Lions. It's just a combo of probably the top 2 teams in the world, or top 3 or 4 in the world coming together, and you're just going, geez, it's it's ominous. There's no 2 ways to look at it, and in the short term, I think we just got to get as much continuity with, say, the key players. Like shrink. It hurts to lose the Rebels. Now, whether all that goes through, I'm not sure. But I think in the long run, it'll be better having 4 quality teams, 2 that'll compete for finals, 2 that'll bring up the rear, because that's pretty much how history sort of said. And just getting that continuity of guys playing together week in, week out. You're starting to see a few things, like seeing Harry Wilson and Fraser McWright, their combo starting to come. Just in a few of the other things. I think the Tars will be better this year with Dan McKellar there. It'll just, I'm hopeful. But we really need guys like Tenyo Tupo to play to their potential. I know it's a bit of a harsh thing, but you know, 10-year-old was busted on the weekend and got through, which was impressive. But, you know, we've got to find some ways to get momentum. And Joseph Swaley will come in, which will be great. But we've lost Mark Nwonga and Tuasi, who was our best player last year too. So, you know, having both of them on the wings would have been pretty lethal, you know, kick threat plus the, you know, momentum in the carry.
Yeah. And what's the challenges like in Australia when it comes to the AFL and the league?
Huge, mate. Like, it's hard. Like, you've got 17. Let's just give you rugby league, for example, which is probably our biggest threat on the East Coast. AFL dominates the southern parts of the country, you know what I mean, and Perth and that. And then, you know, they get 18 to 20 teams, 50 to a roster. But rugby league, for example, right? Rudy Page is leaving school. And the Waratahs, Rudy, we love you, man. We think you're a great player. I mean, just come to us and we'll give you a development contract and we'll pay you 40 grand. Man, 40 grand in Sydney gets you nowhere, you know, to live there. You know, and the NRL club, the Bulldogs, come along and say, well, Rudy, we think you're talented and we're going to put you in our under-21s or whatever and we're going to pay you 200.
Jeez.
You know, and we're going to give you a 3-year deal because we think you're worth it and we're going to grow that contract over time and hopefully in 3 years' time you're playing first grade.
Sure.
Now, so that's sort of the difference in the money aspect. Now, that's a hard one. Like you just as a kid, you're probably going to go there. So we've really got to be really pinpoint of who we target with the money we've got and then make sure the development and those guys, we see them through. But I'll say this too, there's not always... You look at it where we went in the Rugby World Cup last year. We didn't lose because of sort of the rugby league type talent. We lost because, you know, forward pack and different sorts of things, you know what I mean? So we can just got to recruit those guys. There's a lot of guys in Western Sydney, there's some big boys there. So
and selecting overseas-based players, is there a topic that you guys are discussing in Australia? What is that situation like?
Is there
look, I think... It'll eventually get to that. I think it'll get to that for all countries because it just becomes like a restriction of trade, doesn't it? Like pretty much you can go and ply your world soccer, you can ply your trade anywhere but still be selected. You guys have managed to make it work, but you also don't have to compete with the 3 other codes that we do as well. Like you've got soccer, which is massive here, but for us, mate, AFL is the number 1 sport. Rugby league is a close second. And then, you know, it's a long drop off to
cricket fit in?
Cricket, basketball, and then you got, you know, your rugby's down with soccer. So it's just we're a small population, so 25 million with a massive competition for athletes. So, mate, you know, if we could take just a few of the rugby league athletes to come across to us and you'd see them go, you know, there's some really talented blokes and that there. But as I say, like, man, we're blessed in rugby because, you know, small fish pond in league in Australia, you know what I mean? The guys are rock stars. And that's a hard thing too. Like back in the day, you could sell the travel aspect of rugby, but these days with Instagram, with you know the social media aspect, people just want to be famous in their own backyard. And when you look on TV, who are you seeing? You're seeing the rugby league players. You're seeing Nathan Cleary, Latrell Mitchell. You're seeing all these guys. That's who I want to be. So they're going to go play there.
Where did rugby spiral down? I mean, especially when it comes to Australia. You guys were next level.
Well, having a combo the other day, I reckon, you know what I mean? But I reckon it started when Johnny Wilkinson kicked that bloody field goal. and it's been on a slow downward since then.
Is it?
Look, if I'm saying off my gut feel, I got great coaching when I was coming through at the 16s levels. And this is, I'm talking like 03, 02, 03, 04. The academies were brilliant. So we got great coaching, and a lot of those guys who are in those now are some of the best coaches or have coached at super level and all that. Like, so I think about that and I go, all right, we took a lot of that money that was in there. Once we blew the budget of that 2003 World Cup surplus we had, we then started taking out the academies, the coaches. Our coaches went and got poached overseas, and you take out that quality. And the last really good batch of juniors we had come through that was real quality was, I think, about 08 when you had Genya, Pocock, Cooper, Beale, O'Connor. Slips. Fanga brothers.
Yep.
So all that batch came through. I was 2 years before them. We had a pretty good group as well, but not like that. Like that was ridiculously talented. And we're still almost picking those guys now. Like we got on the World Cup last year. Like Kurtley Beale would have been picked, James O'Connor this year, you know. Like we're still looking to those guys because we haven't been able to fill. Now I question whether the talent hasn't been there or whether we just haven't been able to develop it or we, you know, we hope that the next 19-year-old is going to be Quade Cooper at 19, and it just doesn't happen.
It takes time, yeah. I mean, the 2011 Rugby World Cup, you guys were awesome. You're kicking us out of the Rugby World Cup. 2015 as well. In a
final,
yeah. Is it the Super Rugby aspect because South Africa left? Is it because the coach Eddie Jones maybe did a couple of things? Because sometimes, I need to ask these questions because you've obviously been in that culture, but.
Man, it's hard. I don't think let's go through the coaches, right? We've had Robbie Deans. Now Robbie's gone to Japan and won pretty much everything there, so we know he can coach. Ewan McKenzie unfortunately left after that, but won a Super Rugby title and went to 2 with the Tars. Can coach. Michael Checker, proven. Can coach. Dave Rennie, very good coach. Eddie Jones, proven.
Brilliant.
Joe Schmidt, proven. So is the problem the coach or is the problem the system of the players?
The system.
So that's what we got to start saying. And I thought, maybe until you sit in those boardrooms and see it all and the budget, and then you got to go all the problems.
Yeah.
And you go, which rabbit do we chase?
What's important?
Man, it's hard.
Yeah.
And I don't want to throw stones at those guys. I'm sure they're all sitting in there doing their best.
Yeah.
But man, it's a pretty big problem. And in the short term, we've got to find a way to be competitive next year against the Lions.
Yeah.
So, and at the moment, the talent we're rolling out is the talent we've got.
Yeah.
That's
So, Joe, and Joe can coach, man, and he's a bloody good guy too. So,
But the
we just gotta
platform, if you
persist.
don't have the platform, it's kind of tough.
Yeah, it's hard.
Yeah. Let's look at your career as well. 50 caps for the Wallabies. Eh? And I mean, you played with some incredible players and you've mentioned a couple of them. How was your career, playing against the Springboks, kicking us out in the Rugby World Cup?
I want to give a bit of context. So at our show, we call everybody that plays with a scrum cap a Power Ranger.
Power Ranger, yeah. A different type of Power Ranger.
Mate, I wish I'd got rid of it earlier. I went to Japan, I got rid of the scrum cap, and I did bloody half the concussions I had in bloody Super Rugby. So
It is always the case.
far out. But man, I was blessed. I started in rugby league originally. I was at the Broncos for 2 years, and they were foundational years because I was lucky to have Wayne Bennett as my coach, and the discipline that instilled and the competitiveness of those guys was ruthless. And then, I love travel. I had a travel itch as a kid, went to Sri Lanka for cricket, and I was like, man, how good is this? See the world, this is awesome. And I thought, if I ever want to go back to league, I can. But, the Reds came with a contract. There was a World Cup in 07 in 2 years. And I was like, shit, I just may as well give it a crack. And I was behind a guy who was going to be the next immortal in Darren Lockyer. So I was kind of like, this is a good opportunity. So I went. And, the Reds was a completely different environment to the Broncos. We didn't have a lot of success, but man, I got to go to a 2007 World Cup and it was amazing. And, play with some great players like George Gregan and Stephen Larkin and these guys and see, the professionalism of those guys and to play, man, anyone, you guys know it's like when you run out at a World Cup, it's a pinnacle of your sport, and look, we bowed out to England and we didn't have a great game that game, but man, in front of 80,000 people, Stade Velodrome, I'm playing against my hero, Johnny Wilkinson. He's the opposite number 10, living the dream. Yeah, it was incredible, surreal.
Did you have a conversation with Johnny then?
Mate, I went and swapped jerseys with him. How embarrassing, man. But I did.
Awesome.
Yeah, but it was cool because he inspired me, man. Like, after reading his book and shit, man, I'd go out and kick for 2 hours on Christmas Day. Like, man, I'd do that stuff. I was dedicated every day to that thing. So when I got to that World Cup in 07, I might have had a shit year with the Reds, but I can tell you I was ready to go if I got my chance.
Yes.
And I was the last guy selected. I know that. Found out on a nightclub dance floor, which was kind of cool. John Connolly rang up and said, "Oh, mate, I've just got to give you a call. It's unfortunately these are some of the things I've got to do." And I said, "Knuckles, it's fine, mate. Don't worry. I know I'm not getting selected. It's fine." He goes, "Yeah, but you're in, mate." So,
Was the party
you kidding
awesome
me?
after that?
I was like, far out. Oh, mate, I'll tell you what. Back to the bar, let's go. Yeah.
Yes.
It was unreal. And it's just so many good stories. Like in that World Cup, I got a cap off a bench against Japan in the first test. Bit of a token one, but they wanted to just give you a chance
Nothing wrong
before
with it.
Yeah.
And then, mate, the next week I wasn't in the 23, and we had Wales in Millennium Stadium, biggest game of our pool, and back in 07, I don't know if it was like that with you guys, but if you're a double dirty or a guy who wasn't in the team, it was expected you went out.
Yep.
And then told the story the next day or whatever happened. So Wednesday night, I'm out on the piss with all these a few of my heroes who weren't playing, and this is unbelievable. We're in Montpellier.
Time of my life.
Unbelievable. And Thursday night again, we get to Cardiff, and I thought, I'll go out till like 2 or 1, and then went to bed. Didn't have too big a night. And then captain's run was in the morning. So we had our fitness session in the afternoon. So non-playing members didn't have to go to the captain's run. So I went and did a tour of this castle in the middle of Wales with all these Aussie supporters. They're like, what are you doing here? Just getting amongst it. Get a phone call from the manager, mate, where are you? I said, I'm on a tour of the castle. It's bloody brilliant. He said, you better get back to the hotel. Stephen Larkham's done his knee. You could be playing tomorrow. It's like, shit, my heart goes to like 1,000 miles an hour. And got back to the hotel, and then 8:30 at night, John Connolly comes to my room and says, mate, you're going to be starting number 10 tomorrow. Yeah, I was just turned 21, shitting myself. And I won't say the name of my roomie that time, but my roomie ended up bringing a bird back that night.
Wow. Disrespectful.
I ended up having to leave the room, listen to my bloody... I still listen to a Walkman, a Discman back then. And then, shit, he's done... I don't know what he's done, but anyway, I come back in. She's gone. He's asleep. Woke up the next day, didn't get a lot of sleep. And ended up, the game couldn't have gone better. I kicked a drop goal, and things happen. And I had 5 of my best mates there. And I look back on my career over the whole time I played, and I go, I don't think I could top that night.
Really?
Yeah. I know, you win certain things and do that. But on a personal perspective, when you get to the pinnacle, you work hard as a kid, and it just all comes to fruition. Because it rarely happens, mate, where you're not so much in the zone, but just...
in the moment.
Yeah. And that was... probably just a culmination of a lot of things, family sacrifice, everything like that to get to where you are. It was great. Yeah.
And moving to Japan eventually.
Yeah.
Why
Japan?
Japan?
Mate, I was 26. I'm just nearly 27. I was still pretty young.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
I went up there thinking I might do 1, maybe 2 years. And I was so lucky that I signed at Panasonic because it was, and it's not serendipitous, but kind of way with Tony Brown now being involved with the Springboks. But I knew 2 guys there, which was the difference maker. A guy called Daniel Heenan, who... only guys who played in Japan will know. He played 2 tests for the Wallabies, but I still consider him the best lock I ever played with. And he played till he was 41.
Damn it.
And freak. But he was there and Tony Brown was there. And I wanted to learn off him because I just thought there's something about the way he played and was considered really smart. And got to go up there and luckily, well, as fortune would have it, Robbie Deans got sacked and then he ended up going up there. So I had both him and Tony Brown. And Brownie was brilliant, mate. As a 10 coming from Australia, I kind of learnt so much more about playing the position and that through him. So, it was only short the time I did have him, but really profound. Yeah.
And I mean, he's obviously, you're working with Tony Brown and he's obviously the assistant coach. What have you learned pretty much from him? And how do you see as a fly-off? Because usually when it comes to fly-off, they always says, no, they don't tackle. They're more attacking type of kicking type of fly-off.
But Brownie tackled.
Yeah,
that was the
tough.
thing, man. He was tough. And, if people don't know him, he had that accident when he was young and he's got that, claw, little tiny hand. Man, what he's done to play Test rugby and do what he's done just with that alone is incredible. And he nearly died up there. But I don't know, we died with that injury while he was playing for Sanya. Man. He finished the game. He's a tough bastard.
Yeah.
And is there anything that you applying in your current coaching that you took from him?
Oh, look, the biggest learning for me coming from Australia was that we played your first 3 phases off starter, and then it was that whole we were talking about earlier, but play what you see. And it's a myth, really, that play what you see kind of thing. And what I found with Brownie was once someone kicked you the ball or someone put a kick in play, it was that's when the structure started. So you knew I could play number 10 and I knew where every player was almost on the field. So I could, intuitively know if that's what the defense is giving me, I know that those guys are going to be there.
Yeah.
So then I just got to pull the trigger on the right option. And that made it so much easier for me instead of, I'm seeing this, Juan's seeing that, but Rudy's on another tangent over there. But it just felt like we're all on the same page. And Japan suited me, mate. I'd come from the Reds and the Tars where I was always in, not captain, but either in the leadership group or vice captain or something, and you're always having to do media, all this other stuff. And I could go up there, just train, play, be with my family.
Yeah.
And I spent more time training, more time prepping, and just enjoyed my footy, mate. And I loved it. And I thought after 1 or 2 years, I kept, you get an offer to go back and play super, but I was like, shit, I can go surfing and spend 4 months in my hometown around my kids and then go up and play in a game I enjoy, in a club I enjoy.
Yeah.
There was no reason to go
no-brainer.
back. And then back then too, mate, the Giddo rules in place. So you had to, that only came in after I'd been up there. So I played 51 tests. Gitz had played obviously 70 or 80 at the time. So they brought that in order to get him back for the 15 World Cup. Yeah.
Just for him. Sure.
And then it's, a few guys they've changed it a little bit more now.
I want to ask you one more question, Barnesy. If a South African team would chuck you an email, would Berrick Barnes ever be interested in coaching in South Africa?
Attack in South Africa.
Because, I mean, for us as South Africans, we seen as this dominant pack of forwards. We played this one style of rugby. Would a South African coaching gig
the way
intrigue you?
Japan woman is playing.
With the skill level.
Yes, we saw it on Friday night.
I wish I could take credit for that, mate, but that's the girls.
Would something like that be interested to you?
Yeah, for sure, mate. Like, obviously, you got to weigh up the family sort of aspect of it, but for sure, mate. Like, I was lucky enough to play a lot with JP Peterson, and he's the panner there, and he's with the Sharks boys in Durban, and for a lot of us guys who've been foreign, look, we'd always say, if you could coach one team, it'd be the Boks, because you just saw the size of them, and you could see if you could just give them some structure and a bit of flair, stuff to play with, it could be so much better. But you've got that now. Rassie's ability to think outside the box, and some of your talented, players you got coming through, and you've obviously got a pack that gives you the foundation, but you guys can beat teams multiple different ways now. You saw that, and that's why I think it's so appealing for Brownie. Like, Brownie obviously played with the Sharks and the Stormers.
Yes.
So he's had that little bit of tinge taste of it, but I think he's similar sort of thing where if he could get that chance to coach him, he'd take the opportunity.
Bulls, I don't know whoever's watching.
Sign him up.
They're at my team. I've opened the door for you
Open
guys,
the door.
okay? You guys do the rest.
Rudy,
come on, Jakey.
I'll tell you one thing, man. That was the worst night of my life. We played up there, and I think we had about 21 fit players. I think we put 2 guys on the bench to try and win it. That was the year you guys won it for the first time in
lovely.
07.
07?
And it was one of the best. It was one of the best teams you guys, have ever had. It was massive. And through to prayer, man. It was like
he was in his own world.
Good player, man. Derek Hogarth, Mornay off the bench, and your pack was just giants. But man, we were busted. I think Will Genya and Quay Cooper, they were 18. I was 20. We had a decent side who went on, but man, we were kids, and we rocked up to that stadium. It was the funniest thing. Eddie Jones was our coach. He's like, boys, we're going to run them off the park. We'll run them off. We'll run it from everywhere. And we're just, because they're unfit, you know what I mean? We're going to run them everywhere. And started a game, 3 minutes into it. Clint Zhivovsky kicks a goal. We're leading 3-0. Fuck yeah, boys.
Come on,
We've got
here we
this.
go.
We've got this. Half time, looked up at the scoreboard, 42-3. We were passing it from our in goal. I think Indangani, one of the boys, just dotted it down like under the post. I was like, Jesus. And then come out after half time, and you guys were just, it was perfection.
And what did Eddie say after the game? If he said before the game, we're going to run them off the field, what was that talk like after the game? Where's the beers?
There was a lot of soul searching.
Okay.
I know the next day Eddie went straight to Saracens. And we went on a safari tour for 2 days because we couldn't fly back. They sent us to Sun City. And this was the worst thing, mate. Our manager, who was pretty young at the time, he said, look, boys, we're flying home. I said, well, can we just wear like civilians, like civvies, just because end of the season, it's 3 or 4 days later, no one's going to care.
Yeah.
Turn up at the airport, we're all in civvies and still pretty dusty because we had a good time in Sun City. And there we were, like all the press was there. And the next day on the front page of the paper was a photo of us on one side, a photo of a bunch of Irish backpackers on the other, and it was just like spot the difference.
Oh my gosh.
Man, it was, and we copped it. And look, fair enough, but it was, looking back now, you understand why we got beaten like that. Like, you turn around the next week and the Chiefs got 50 put on them. Yeah. And that was and the Crusaders even, they got dusted by them in the semi by 50. It was a great team. And mate, back then the maul rule too, you didn't actually have to transfer it back. Well, remember they'd throw it to Victor or Bucky's, and obviously they're speaking Afrikaans, so they're probably just saying, yep, throw it now, mate. They didn't even have to have a call get up, win it, and then Fury would stand there like he was on a chariot in the Gladiator, and he's just like whipping it.
Yeah,
and
go,
just
go.
Dot down. Derek Hogard kicks 13 from 13 that night from the touch, and it was just a tough night.
What times, eh? And looking back at your career, I just want to kind of know before we say goodbye, any mulligan you would take from your career, looking at, your times. I mean, there's incredible times. Anything you would change that you kind of, decisions and stuff you've made?
No, the only regrets I reckon I've ever had in my footy career, and I suppose it's a life sort of thing as well, is just when you didn't take a shot. So, for example, you didn't take that shot at goal, or you chickened out because those nerves got to you, or the anxiety got to you, and we all feel it, mate. Like, I don't care what anyone says, man. I played, I don't know how many tests, and I'd tell you I shit myself for every one of them.
Yeah.
And that bus ride to the game, that's the thing I miss, funnily enough. I miss the bus ride to the game, because there's no other feeling like that anxiety of going out there in front of a test match and you're a goal kicker and you got to kick in front of 80,000, in Pretoria or something.
Yeah.
And you fear of letting down your mates. Like that kind of thing is it's a thing I hated as a player, but it's a thing I miss now because you can't find that anymore. You can't find that sort of thing.
Yeah, nothing gives you that from...
But my thing is, man, I regret the times I didn't take the shot, because even if you missed it, like that's okay. You got to have a crack. And so just when I didn't have a go.
Anything silly Berrick Barnes did in his career? Something that you're like, damn it, what was I thinking? Oh, is there a lot?
It's probably a lot.
Oh, damn it.
It's worth off the camera. I'm already in enough trouble with
It's an offline story, yeah.
I think I was always pretty sensible, I'd say. I wasn't the loosest bloke going around, but no, I had a good time, mate. We all did, those guys with the Aussie boys. Some more than others. Obviously, Kurtley Beale and a few of the boys got a bit more strong. They're good fellas, mate.
Yeah.
Like, when we had a good time. Those years were some of that. Played some good footy and and we had fun.
Good memories, No, Barnesy, thank you very much for the time. And I know you in South Africa and Cape Town for a good challenge, obviously for the next couple of weeks. But thank you for making the time to come to Behind the Ruck.
Yes.
And honour, boys, and thanks, and keep doing what you're doing as well. It's obviously bringing rugby to the masses, but you bring it in a good way and a nice, natural, easy sort of way too, mate. It makes it easy as a guest as well. So thanks for having us.
No, I appreciate
so much,
that.
Man. Appreciate it.
We'll collab the ball and all and Behind the Ruck all the time.
I want to go surfing.
Here we go. Hey guys, that is Berrick Barnes. Stop spoiling them. Huh? How lucky are we? The one and only. I made some time when he's in Cape Town for us.
I've just recruited the next Bulls attacking coach. Ruckers, I've done it. I'm good at my job. I'm making sure that our Bulls, we're going to get our trophies back, okay? It's been some lean years trophy-wise, but I think I've landed at something.
Yeah. Hopefully he likes the Boerewors. He will stay. But like to catch up with him, man. I mean, vast experience. He's played for Wallabies over 50 caps for Wallabies, and it's just awesome.
Before we move to Gio and we talk Rugby Championship and Bokke, you know what the one thing I love about rugby is we are some of the best human beings. Not just people's people.
Yes.
And that is what I got from that conversation with Berrick.
You learned a lot.
And it's universal.
And the studies thing, you learn a lot.
Yeah,
in common.
Don't go with the studies. Put on your seatbelt. You see Ruckers. He always got it out for me.
Yeah, but it's lekker to catch up with him. But it's Rugby Championship. Ooh. Let's cover that. You got to cut it deep.
It's like an avocado. You got to peel it down. We got to peel it down and make sure that we talk all things Springboks, guys.
Here we go.
We are getting all of the trophies in South Africa. Sorry, I'm getting put on my seatbelt. Sorry.
Is it not the Morphin time?
Yep. Power Ranger.
Okay, let's get there. Up next, Gio Aplon. Let's go.
Morphin time. Ruckers, we have him back, okay? The friend of the show in the house to talk about everything that happened in the Rugby Championship. Oh, get it back. Let's have some fun with none other the first Power Ranger, the OG. Gio, welcome back, boyki.
Thank you, gents, for having me back. It's awesome to be here.
Friend of a show.
Yes, 5 times. High five. Give me a high five.
Lekker, boyki.
Time to cut it deep. How's things? First of all, how's things? Obviously looking like business always. Looking like business always. How's things been?
No, good. I think after a lot of rain in Cape Town, it's good to have the sun out again. And then it's back in the office.
Back in the office?
Back in the office.
Punching in the numbers.
Punching in the numbers.
Watching rugby. Okay. High-fiving all over the show. But yeah, it's absolutely good to be back.
And Gio, have you enjoyed the Rugby Championship?
Yes.
Okay. And is it just because the box were good?
Yes.
Or the rugby was good?
I think the rugby overall was good. I think the box was incredible at times. I think the All Blacks showed their hand. Yes, they're not winning. Aussie is a bit in a shambles.
Yeah.
And then Argentina showing some stuff under Philippe Contempomi.
So you're watching Argentina as well? Yes. Because especially those games, 11 o'clock and 10 o'clock at night. And we're struggling. Are you struggling?
Why are you pointing at me with 11 o'clock at night?
11 o'clock at night. Have you been watching those games especially?
Yeah, I watched a couple. I didn't watch the Australian one, but I watched the one against the Springboks, and obviously the other ones they played in New Zealand. But there's some good stuff bringing under Contempomi. Kendrick Lynn is also there. There's a couple of guys there. There's Juan Fernandez Lobe.
Oh, legends.
Is also on the field. So you can see there's a couple of stuff happening there. Australia under Joe Smith. Yeah, Joe Smith, a brilliant coach. You can see his hand there, but obviously I think they still need some cattle to go around. The All Blacks is the All Blacks.
Yeah.
Never underestimate them. They played some good tests in South Africa and Ellis Park, although we won those tests. And in Cape Town, but again, the Springboks.
Yeah, let's get to the Springboks. Hey? 'Cause when it comes to Rugby Championship, we want to cut it easier for one reason. Okay? Want to cut to the bone. Cut to the bone. Talk me through the Springboks rugby. How's Springbok rugby looking for you so far? Obviously, we've spoken about what happened in the Island series. Has everything been the same for the Springboks? What have you picked up technically when it comes to the Springboks?
I think you can see the Springboks are evolving now, trying to evolve. I think the core is still there. You can still see they're winning games in the last 15 minutes when Malcolm Marks and the bomb squad is coming on, so that's still there. Saturday, you could see the scrum is still evident. They're still powerful in the scrum. They're still about physicality. The way Tony Brown is playing, bringing two guys around the corner, being on top of the defense the whole time, just playing, making it fast, playing fast, starting fast. I think that's the main thing for them. And then throwing the ball around. You could see with Mani this weekend. Yes, Polly is also bringing a little bit of a different dimension. Shasha's been there in the past, but Mani Libok, unbelievable.
No.
His voice, huh? How good was that guy?
He's a bok. He's a lot bok. Huh?
How quickly, obviously, a lot of people had a lot to say last week about the kick and the abuse. We spoke about it. We're not going to cover that again this weekend, Ruckus, the abuse he faced. But I want to give him flowers. I'm assuming he obviously dealt with a lot mentally last week, which is normal. We as players, you still tend to see the stuff that people post or whatever. And that for me is incredible that he could park that somehow and put on a performance that was a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 performance. And his hands, I've told you this, we must put that hands in a museum and we must make sure we put some sort of glass over it that we look after.
I agree.
He can, like his ability to pass, and look, Gio, I had a nice spot on the field where I can watch him. It's not just when he has the ball in his hands that is incredible. The way he directs the team when the ball is not in his hands, the ball is going that way. The way he points, the way he picks up space, looking with his eyes. I'm in true awe of Mani Lebok.
100%, I must agree. And the way, when it comes to that pivot position as a fly half, he's steering the team around. And that's important. If he doesn't steer the team around, the team sometimes get lost because forwards, when they get tired, they get lost sometimes. But it's just, I don't know if you guys have picked it up, it's the small things with him. He's one flyer that actually catches the ball far from him, so he gives himself lots of times. And once he catches that ball, he always gives a little movement of pump. That pump just means defenders make it a season. Once they make it a season, second of all, then he can make his decision and makes it easier because he's got the skill level as well.
I think, Juan, you played with him, and I think he's incredible rugby player. I think everything he does is calculated. You look at him, the way he directs the forwards, the way he's looking. Like, you look at that cross kick he gave in the World Cup. He gave a similar one this weekend. But it's calculated. It's not like something out and he tries something. You can see everything he does, the way he passed to Fassi. It's calculated. He's really a rugby player. If you look at the Stormers a couple of years back and the Stormers now, Mani Lebok is the difference. He basically brought the United Rugby Championship to Cape Town. And you can see it evidently this weekend in the way he played. He's just on another level. And yes, he's been struggling with his kicking. But one thing you must give credit to that management staff is the way they took the pressure off him. Yes, a 10 would like to kick. A 10 would like to do certain things. But the way they protected him and the way they elevated him, I think you should give credit to Rassie. And everybody gives a lot of credit to Rassie. But I think there you should give credit to Tony Brown also, who's part of it. And the whole management staff. Just the way they handled it. They took the pressure off him. They let him play and let him be himself. And he was unbelievable.
Yeah, he was unbelievable. But the small little things as well. When it comes to him, he's a very confident player. And personally for me, I would have liked them to give him a couple of opportunities when it comes to the kicking tee, just to keep building that confidence. I don't think he's a type of guy that where the kicking stuff will affect him a little bit when it comes to attack.
No, if I look at it, I think they first want to establish him as that the pressure out there will be less in terms of, because now you see him as a kicking, a fly-off, kicking and playing. But once we see the true Manie Libbok, the way he plays, we will see he's undroppable. And then that pressure of kicking will, I won't say will be nullified, but will be less. Because you can always find someone else to kick. Cheslin can kick, Jaden can kick. But then we can see who he really is, how he can play and what he means to the Springboks. And I think they first want to put that or push that to the shore, if you can call it that, and then let people see him for that. And then afterwards, if he misses a kick now and then, it's not as big a fuss as the way he's playing.
Yeah.
And boys, I want to talk about the fact that he plays a crucial position, right? And he hasn't got a lot of game time.
Yeah.
And for him to not play a lot of rugby, Irish test matches, then the Australian All Blacks didn't play, got a 20 minutes against Argentina, and then to put in that performance on the back of no game time, actually, it makes that
And
performance
that
actually
pressure.
more crucial. And excellence and flowers and
the
Libbokkie.
No, unbelievable. And again, like you say, with coming off the back of missing a kick, so-called costing your team, taking him abuse. And I think, and I know guys will want to touch on the abuse, but back in the past, we got a lot of abuse from the so-called Cape Crusaders All Black fans. But it was really disappointing to see how we got the flack from our own people. We've been struggling to get and I don't want to call it this way, we were struggling to get a coloured flyer for years. And suddenly he misses a kick, and all the people that's supposed to support him has a go at him. And we could see, and just the character of Manie, first of all, and then obviously the support around him, his family, and then obviously the team to support him in this weekend. And again, he was unbelievable in terms of not just I've watched the game. He kicks to the right hand side with his right foot up and under.
Yes.
We call it on the tiki.
Yep.
Yeah.
On the other side with his left foot on a tiki. And in Afrikaans, that wil gedoen wees.
Yep. Ja,
I mean,
wil gedoen wees,
that
wil
is
gedoen wees.
unbelievable to kick with your weaker foot still on a point, still for Curdy to contest, and then on the other side kick with your other foot for Cheslin to contest.
Yes, it's next level. Outeniqua Rakas, we used to sing.
Yes.
Ons het het.
Gebore met het, kan nie jappie, ons het het.
So Manie het het.
Hy het
Okay?
het.
Boys,
Gebore met het.
and in the rest of the game, anything that you picked up that you were impressed with?
Oxenche.
We
Oxenche.
spoke about it last week, yeah.
I was impressed with Oxenche. We know him for his scrumming. But I mean, how he finds out of that wide ruck, how he gets to that 5th, 6th defender with his hands, how he goes to the line and get the ball, get the ball to the fly-off back. He was incredible. I think Jasper Wiese was
I think
incredible.
he's still getting.
He's still getting.
He's still running
I think
in
someone says he refuses to go down. I think Eben on his 100 match, yes, he was maybe he's so-called quiet, but he was still getting his job. And then Peter Steeft it away. I mean,
Next level.
it just seems like every game he just increases and it just gets better and better. Damien Delendi, again, masterclass. And then the Power Rangers, both. And I mean, Cheslin was this week. He was
actually the whole
unbelievable.
team. Huh?
But a special mention for Apelele Fassi.
Yeah, to come through.
Unbelievable. I mean, the first time he got into the box squad, he played 3 games on the wing, got dropped, got sent away, didn't drop his head, worked hard at the Sharks, played some good rugby, and now, and obviously credit to Willie who's helping him off the field. We must give credit to Willie who's helping him, but Apelele Fassi, what a find for us.
And what do you think when it comes to those? Because last time you said about, the combinations of Andre Pollard and Willie at the back. Do you think Andre and a Fassi can work? Do you think where does Manie fit in? And actually Sasa when he comes back as well?
I think the way the Springboks are playing now, they changed the game a little bit. I think back in the day it was really revolving around Willie to get with. If you look now, Polly can get the ball with, can get the ball wide. Manie's running the show. Sasa can get the ball wide. Daming is passing. Jesse's getting the ball away. They're getting the ball to the wider channels to Peter Steef, the Twain, to Sia. So I think that notion that I had of Polly can't play. I mean, Polly can play now. The way they spreading the ball and also the way they stay on top of teams by getting around the corner 2 at a time. They're just getting that width naturally at the moment. And I don't think there's that notion anymore of Paulie can't get it wide. I was impressed with him when he played against Argentina, and even Saturday when he came on, he was quite good.
It made a big difference, yeah.
Hy was lekker. Dit was goed.
Nee, baie goed.
Die hele span
as jy
was
my
goed. Rakkers, die hele span was goed. But boys, as rugby people, nothing's perfect. Do we still see a area in our game that we need not improve, but we should fine tune that might hurt us maybe in a England Twickenham test match? Anything there in our game?
What do you think? Maybe the defense a little bit, because we were, like you said, our DNA was pretty much physicality, overpower, defense. We're going to a little bit of attack. I mean, while we're going to attack, sometimes we lack something different, you know. Does the defense, is it still on the same, is it in the same level? Because if you look at Argentina as well, there was a lot of holes and they scored some good tries against us.
If you go back and we were coached by Jacques Nienaber at the Stormers, while Jacques is there, it's difficult to go to attacking rugby. I mean, Jacques is on you, he's heavy. When the other guys are attacking, he's on the defensive side. So it's very difficult under Jacques Nienaber to expand your attacking game. Not that he's an unbelievable coach, he's very, very good. But it's tough for attacking coach sitting on the other side and trying moves, and Jacques is on the other side and he's just banging guys, make your tape, don't miss the jump, all of those things. So when Jacques for the attacking game to evolve, Jacques had to move on. Not move on, but maybe move out of the picture for a little while. And then coming back to this, it's year one of a World Cup cycle. You need to try things. Saturday was entertaining. I don't think it was clinical. I think it was entertaining. We saw a lot. We clapped hands and it was nice, but it wasn't clinical like we know the Springboks. We spent a lot of energy getting the ball wide, and to get 48 points on the board, we probably spent 3 times the energy we normally spent. So I think that is the work on for us, to know when to go to your typical strength, your physical game. We normally go with that when the bomb squad comes on, but when to go to that, when to slow it down, when to attack, not when to attack, but when to go forward. So I think we're still trying to find that balance going forward. But I think for me, Saturday was not that clinical. It was entertaining, but it wasn't that clinical that we know the Springboks can play.
And that's a great thing for us as guys sitting here. The Boks won 48-7, and we can still have the comments saying, yes, they can still get better. They were still clinical. There's still some errors, a bit of weaknesses. It gaan goed.
Het gaan goed, yeah. But and we had this debate a couple of weeks ago, because I was saying we never were in this position where we on next level when it comes to leading up to the Rugby World Cup. Is it a little bit of a concern? He said no, because he kind of says you can learn from both of it. I say we learned a lot from losing and getting ourselves ready for the Rugby World Cup. What is your thoughts on that?
If you think of a player, he's in the squad now and he needs to make it to the World Cup. It's like the Springboks, we are the talk of the town now. So for 4 years now, for the next 3 years, we need to keep this form and still improving while other people are chasing us. The All Blacks did it once back in the day. So that's going to be the difficult part for us, to keep on evolving while other people find answers for the problems we're creating. That's going to be our challenge. So going forward, the All Blacks can scrum. So they nullify that, they can stop them more. We're starting to play now. Next thing, is our bomb squad going to be effective? So all 5 pillars we normally build our game on. When people find answers for that, how are we going to respond? The difficult thing for us, the good thing for us is we're on top. It's easier to stay on top than to go down. But the difficult thing is to stay there while other people are trying to figure out and you have the target on your back. We knew back in the day how it was when the All Blacks were number one. Everybody wanted to beat them. We are those guys now. So for us, and we've got a smart coaching staff that I believe all around, all the whole coaching staff. So I believe that's going to be our next challenge, to stay on top of there. And then again, are we happy to win by 1 point? Is winning important for us, or evolving?
Okay.
Because we've beat the All Blacks in Cape Town, but not with good performances. Did we evolve? Because they're going to evolve. They're definitely going to get better. But are we evolving towards the World Cup, or are we happy with winning? Because at some stage, winning is going to dry up. And did we evolve? Did we move on from where they found us? And that was the good thing about, not the good thing, but the thing that we envied about Steve Hanson's All Blacks, if I can call it that. Whenever we got to a level, they were gone. So we were like, we stay at the 5th floor. We get there and they're like, oh no, that's the 6th floor. And that's going to be our next challenge. When people get to the 5th floor, Are we gone? Or are we still there? That's going to be our challenge for the next 3
Massive
years.
challenge, yeah. And credit must go, especially when you spoke about the scrum. I mean, we're not guys that actually have to speak about scrums and stuff, but we need to give credit to Dan Newman as well.
Best in the business.
You spoke about Ox. Ox, I mean, from ever since that semi-final of England, it just came through because he was always behind, Beastie and Steven Kitsov, and now all of a sudden he's the main man. But if you look at what happened in the Island series, our scrum was incredible, pushing teams backwards. But I mean, and then the Rugby Championship, you got teams like New Zealand, Australia, and Argentina looking at us and be like, oh, their scrum is starting to become a weapon. But for us to still dominate in that department, it says a lot when it comes to Springbok rugby, is it?
No, for sure. And again, we give a lot of praise to Rassie. And yes, he's the main guy. But Dani, man, Dion Davids, Muzwandile Stick. There's a lot of aspects on the Springboks game. If you look at the high ball contesting of the ball work, that's Muzwandile Stick. If you look at the forwards, we give credit to Rassie for these moves. That's Dion Davids. He's the line-out specialist, together with Dwayne. They're doing the mauls. They have an increased creative plays. Yes, and then we bring Tony Brown in and Jerry Flannery. So I think going forward, we must give a lot of credit to the staff, to the coaching staff. Yeah. But again, back to Dani, man. If you look, Jan Hendrik Wessels came in. Gerard Steenekamp came in. We still we're still strong in the scrums. You put in Juan Urquia at 5 lock, different 5 lock than Erich here. Size-wise. There's still a strong scrum. So somewhere, Dani, man, has got something going. He's got a recipe there from the farm. I don't know. I don't know if it's lammer ribbiki or something, but he's got some potjie kos there that's happening.
Is that bucket it?
It looks amazing with that thing. I'm so jealous.
Yeah.
And before we move on to the other teams of the Rugby Championship, it's a player that played with all of us. He just became the most kept Springbok ever. You guys that started with him when he was a youngster, could you guys see him becoming the most kept Springbok at that time as a youngster?
From the get-go. I mean, he was, ever since he got to the Stormers, he had Andries Becker and a lot of senior players at the time, but he was always pushing his boundaries and, putting pressure onto Springboks at the time. And he was a professional ever since he got there. I mean, he went to the Rugby Academy, Western Province Rugby Academy at the time, and I mean, that kind of for him, Insia and Frans that was there at the time, they kind of learned a lot that they took into professional setup. And I must say, for me, it was just great to see how far he's become, how hard he's worked, and the consistency ever since a 19-year-old to the consistency now is just something that it's beautiful to see.
Yeah. Impressive.
Beautiful to see.
And you also need to understand how remarkable the magnitude of playing 128 tests. You need to survive a couple of coaches. Because if you look at a Springbok test schedule a year, it's about 12 tests. Yeah. So you need to play. If you don't miss a single test, that's 4 years. That's a cycle of a coach. Then you're on 48. Then you need to play another cycle of another coach. That's what's that? Because the accountant's supposed to be
48, yeah. That's
96. Then you have to play almost another cycle. So you have to play 12 years kind of for the Springboks. And if you look at Eben now, he's not that guy he's in the team because he's got experience. Like at Club Rugby, and bliksem bietjie die manne. He's consistently improving. He's challenging the other team. He's playing high-class rugby at 128 tests. It's unbelievable.
It's impressive, yeah.
Like Juan said, he's been like that from the start. You could see he had a hunger to do well. He was mentored. He outplayed Reinhard Elstedt, who was, I think everybody in South Africa was scared of that guy at that time. And he outplayed him when he got there. He had some great mentors, but I mean, we need to give credit to Eben. I think, yes, I'm always a Brian Abana fan, and I always say Brian Abana is my best modern day Springboks, but yes, so Eben is close.
Yes, and it's very impressive to see. I mean, once you get older, other things becomes a little bit important. Okay, your mindset kind of shifts. Yep. And his personal life, I mean, kind of changes as well. Sometimes you get married, sometimes you get kids, you got different responsibilities. You can't do the extras that you used to when you were 20 years old, going to the gym and stuff like that. But to still see the performance, he just keeps raising the bar, even though he's got all this I don't want to say pressure, but all this.
And take into account, he's been at the Stormers, he went to Toulon, and now he's at the Sharks, and he had all those different environmental changes, and he's still performing at that level. It's unbelievable.
Yes, I really, Ruckus, we must celebrate him. He was the youngest Springbok to 50 caps. The youngest Springbok ever to 100 caps. Hopefully he will be the first Springbok to 150.
150, yeah.
We can go for 200 maybe.
Huh?
Ooh, 200.
Ja, net
die.
6 messages.
But for us, looking ahead, right, at the other teams in the Rugby Championship partner, what did we see? Let's start with the All Blacks, Gio. What did we see from the All Blacks in the Rugby Championship?
The All Blacks, like, I'm always wary about the All Blacks. I'm always wary about what is next, what are they going to do. And I've looked at the second game. The first game they played against Australia, they left out 8 opportunities out there to score. They're breaking the line at ease, they're playing, they're finding their feet. And the thing with the All Blacks now is they're in a phase where this is the first time since 2007 they've changed hands. Meaning that the first time there's a new coaching staff.
Yeah.
The very first time. If you look at the continuity, 2007, 11, 15, 19, 23. For 5 cycles, they had the same kind of voice, or a voice stayed. There was a voice that stayed. Maybe 2011, Graham Henry stayed. Steve Hansen stayed. And then Ian Foster stayed. So it's the first time also they have a new coaching staff. The chosen one, who is Razor, who comes from Super Rugby. So we also need to understand that they're going through that phase. Then they're finding players. The first time they assemble a squad without having that South African flavor to it. The first time they have that. So they're also going in a building phase. But then to come to Cape Town and lose, or to Ellis Park to lose by 4 points and then by 6 points is a hell of a good. Yes, they lost to Argentina in New Zealand. But to lose to the number 1 team in the world, the trendsetters, by opportunities, they're going somewhere. I'm very wary, and I don't want to make this a long conversation, but going into the World Cup, because I always like to think ahead. So they're playing Super Rugby, so the World Cup is in Australia. They're playing Super Rugby, so they're going to play for the next 3 seasons. They're going to play in those conditions. They're going to play in Brisbane. They're going to play in Perth, wherever that is. So they're going to get used to that conditions. Come 2026, they come into South Africa. So we always say they lack physicality. Super Rugby lacks the physicality. They're going to come and play 8 games in South Africa to make up that physicality. I believe they're going to be the best prepared side going to the World Cup.
You reckon?
Damn it.
Do you really think they're in the right path? Because I've got my doubts as well. I mean, when it comes to the team selection, when it comes to them, they obviously got senior players that obviously is leaving now. You know, TJ Perenara is called it. Aaron Smith is not there at the moment. I don't know if Damon McKenzie is the answer at all, because sometimes, yes, he can attack a little bit, but when it comes to defense, they have to put him at the back. You've got Bowden Barrett at the back that's playing 15, but he was, World Player of the Year twice when it comes to 10. Rico Arena's actually a wing. There's so much guys that's moving around, and older guys, Brody and those boys that left. Is the plan, are they on the right track to be a team that they were when it comes to 2015 Rugby World Cup?
I think it's going to be difficult to eliminate that team, if that is the word I can use. They've been the same as the Springbok generation. I don't think we're going to see a Springbok generation like this ever again. Oh, okay, I won't say ever again. But then I think they're on the right path. They found Wallace Atiti now, who's a great player.
Great find.
Cortez Ratima is playing well.
Coming back.
So they have their finds. If we look at the cycle, it takes New Zealand rugby 1 boardroom this season, and they can bring Aaron Smith and those guys back. Then they're the same position as us. Then they're stronger. So it's 1 boardroom this season, and then they can match us. But going forward now for the next 2 years, they need to give those guys opportunities. They need to play. I just think the end of the year tour. I think this year, they've got probably the best first year experience. Away to South Africa, 2 games to test your character. Then you're going to play England, Ireland, France away. So after this year, even if they lose, they're going to be a much better team understanding where they are. Then they're going to go next into Super Rugby. They're going to get familiar to Australia. 26, they're going to come to South Africa, get that physicality they need. I'm telling you now, these guys are going to be well prepared coming the World Cup.
I'm going to say one last thing before we move on to All Blacks. I believe they lost those 2 test matches in Africa because of lack of experience. They were inexperienced the last 20 to 25 minutes.
It was close, actually.
It was very close. But come the World Cup, those boys that were on the bench are all going to have 35 to 50 or 45 test matches. So that picture will look a lot different in the next 4 years. the Ratimas will have 40, 30 test caps. The Roy Guards will have 30 test caps. So they'll be way better experience going into the next World Cup.
And comparing to the Springboks, which team is actually winning? Who has the most youngsters coming through? I mean, we've got our couple, we got Sasha and the boys coming through. Do they have more going to the 27 and even the 2031 Rugby World Cup?
I think any team in the world, it's unfair for them to, if you compare them to the Springboks are now on a different level. They've kept the same coach for 3 cycles.
But our future.
Yeah, there's guys that play there. So I think every other team must look at themselves firstly, and then find a way how they want to play. Get a way to beat the Springboks, but go back to the way they play. I think in terms of the young guys coming through, if you look at their squad, they're quite young. They're not playing Samasino Takia'o.
Hey,
he's not even.
nice.
He's not even there. Their third hooker. Their props are young. Their locks, they have a problem at lock, but their locks are young. Wallace Titi, there's young guys coming through there. 9, they got Noah Hotham.
Yeah.
He's coming through. At 10 years, they're going to probably give him Ruben Love or Britsi Moanga can come
I
back.
won't be surprised if Wanga comes back.
I think he'll definitely come back.
He got Esther Fangianuka back.
I think he'll definitely
He's going
come
to go
back.
fetch Richie Moanga.
So I think in the next 2 or 3 years, before they get to South Africa, they'll have an idea who's going to play. South Africa will cut the mice from the men, and then they'll. I'm telling you, I'm very scared that these guys are going to be well prepared.
And a question for both of you: when it came to Eden Park, if this couple of games it was in South Africa was in Eden Park, what would have happened?
Good question. I'm hoping I'm going to answer your ones like that. Look, I think that's probably the one thing that's lying in front of this current group of Springboks. A challenge is to go beat the All Blacks at Eden Park. That is probably the one game that Rassie would probably want to get.
But I'm also still a little bit cautious and worried that we know who our first team is, our A team is. But our B team, if you look at our B team, I'm not sure if they are that comfortable thinking who the next guys is. If we went to Argentina, yes, we lost by a kick, but we were kind of outplayed there.
Yes.
We played our main guys, and the Bins and the bomb squad won us the game again in Cape Town, and again this weekend they came through. But I'm not sure if we know who's our next. Like is Ruan Orkia the next guy? Like when he needs to be the main guy. Yes, he's now filling in a spot and it's nice, but when he needs to be the main guy, is Gerard Steenekamp going to be the main guy when he needs to be the main guy? Because now he's playing with Oxen. The same with Vincent Koch. Like I don't think, I might be wrong, Vincent Koch can start a test and play 60 minutes. I think it's good coming off the bench when Frans did his work. But those type of guys, is our next guy going to be the main guy? Who's going to replace Eben as the main guy? And that is still concerning for me. But not worrying, but just concerning going into the next, I won't say cycle, but injury-wise, who's going to be the next? And that's just my concern. Not taking away, there's been a brilliant rugby championship. Not taking away that the Springboks are a cut above the rest. But again, the challenge for the Springboks is the next 4 years. Are we going to keep it there? Are we going to lift the intensity? Is other teams going to catch up with us?
He's excited.
The way you play it like this, 3 phases ahead.
and one more question for both of you quickly. When is the right time for us to blood youngsters? Now. End of the year tour.
End of the year tour.
It's also,
But it's a different challenge as well
Yes.
because it's wet and greasy.
That's
Do you
the
want to
thing.
test him in a wet and greasy conditions?
But isn't that our conditions now with us playing URC?
but we're
But
going to
when the World Cup is in Australia.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yeah, so
Oh,
it's a
look,
lot.
FF. That's nice.
So again, what are we preparing? Who for what? It sounds a bit like he's down. But we ultimately want to go to Australia and prepare or win the World Cup there. What is the conditions in Australia? Do we need to play expensive game? Can we actually play expensive game now? Like
End of the year.
in the end of the year.
Yeah.
That's going to be our challenge. Close the roof or keep the roof open. So that's going to be our next challenge. Then next year we're going to go to New Zealand, another test for us to see if we can. And the other thing is we only play in Australia 2027 on a half-pregnant rugby championship again. We're not going there next year. 26, there's no rugby championship.
that's-
We're only playing there in 27 again. So that's also a little bit worrying for me that the next time we'll face World Cup conditions, and I know Rassi's got a plan for that, it's going to be in 2027, basically at the World Cup, where Australia and New Zealand, I know Australia doesn't have the cattle, but where they've been playing in those type of conditions for regular season.
We're going to be playing in Europe, most of our rugby. Our players. Rugby
It's a different
Champions,
type of-
the URC, the Champions Cup. I haven't thought of that one.
They say he's in
That's
the
why
office.
we get him in, Ruckus, okay? That's why we get him in.
So we're going to play running rugby at the start of the season. Then from December or November till April, we're not going to play. And then we're going to play those last games if it matters or if it don't matter. And then it's normally going to be playoff rugby. So we need to play a certain way to win the games. Or we're going to play that games that it doesn't matter. We're not going to be in the top 8.
And we throw it around.
So yes, Europe is good, but the next World Cup is in Australia. And maybe we're sitting here and we're speculating. Maybe Rassi's got this plan already
Definitely.
No, he's got
written out,
Definitely.
knowing how he operates. But that's just my concern as a fan from the
Probably,
outside.
he's probably thinking, let's put the Cheetahs and Boland into Super Rugby. What? Hey, I don't know. I'm just thinking.
Now he
out
talks
loud.
about
Say again. Oh, I like that.
That's what I would do.
And how's rugby for you when you look at rugby overall? It's the super. I know you're a Super Rugby guy. URC. Is it too much rugby at the moment? Do we have to put guys into Super Rugby? Is the Currie Cup worth it at the moment? You know, when it comes to the whole Currie Cup and not only the playoffs. How do you see it, especially with player care as well?
Yeah, I think I've got a little bit of a rugby purist mindset, and I think less is more. And what was nice back in the day, you had Super Rugby. There was an anticipation over the December period. Everybody's waiting. We're watching cricket, but we don't want to watch cricket. We're waiting for rugby. Guys are running up and down here at Biskop, and you're like, what are these guys doing? They're preparing and hardening them for Super Rugby. We got 5 months of hard Super Rugby, going into the international season, play a Currie Cup, end of the year, rugby done. And now, maybe I must just get used to it. But now I switch on the TV, I'm like, maybe I should watch some soccer. Maybe I should watch some school rugby.
You watch Edinburgh versus this one.
And then again, would I wake up in the morning at 9 o'clock and watch the Chiefs versus the Hurricanes? Definitely.
Yes.
But I'm not going to watch at 8 o'clock at evening Zebre versus Connacht. And that is just a personal feeling. And there's people that might like it, but I'm not a fan of this. I might watch Leinster versus Munster.
Yes.
Glasgow maybe, and that's it. That's what I would watch. But back in the day, I would have maybe watched the Waratahs, Israel Folau.
And like Bokke in the Six Nations and stuff like that.
Oh.
No, I believe, and again, I might be biased, the South, we're in the Southern Hemisphere. The South should play rugby in the South.
Yes.
And again, look at over the December period. We used to rest. Now we're playing rugby.
With a trifle you tell
I'm
me.
Oh,
confused.
Christmas.
Oh, Christmas. Met die
You-
tryfel in die
a
rugby.
week later you play in the snow, and a week later you play in the sun. So I believe also, and I might be wrong, rugby, Southern Hemisphere rugby should play in the Southern Hemisphere. Northern Hemisphere play in the Northern Hemisphere. And
Stay in your
when
lane.
we were Southern Hemisphere against Northern Hemisphere, the 5 nations was for 5th place at the World Cup all the time. The 4 teams of the Rugby Championship was always 1 to 4 in any particular order.
Travel, man. It's the travel that kind of kills the
that's-
South to the South.
But that's what made Super Rugby so unique. You guys can know.
challenge.
It was challenging because you go to New Zealand, you wake up at 2 in the morning and you can't sleep anymore. And then you have to adapt to that, play some of the best guys in the world week after week, test rugby, come back to South Africa, play the Brumbies while you're awake at 2 in the morning and they come in this way. That was the ultimate challenge. Now, I just feel it's like, it's a trifle. Yeah, but that's my personal feeling.
I understand. Everyone's got their own opinion.
On the last one, on the Six Nations thing, I hope we never go to the Six Nations. That's just me personally. For me, it used to be Tri-Nations, best thing in the world.
Yeah.
All Blacks, Australia, South Africa, now Argentina. Hopefully that will never change.
Why?
It's just, as you said, the purest thing. I just can't see us playing rugby in February where it's pouring down with rain at the Viva Stadium. It's not the thing I would love.
And then they come this way. And then they play in
40 degrees in
40
Pretoria.
degrees.
But that will just make sense because you are into the Six Nations.
And again, we've seen it now. And yes, Australia is at the bad place. Or not at the bad place, not at the good place. But the Bledisloe Cup was still special for them. Who is our rugby rivalry? We don't have a rugby rivalry up north. People are now saying, Ireland is not our rugby rivalry. Before they were this good, we were smashing them 96-0 in
Yes,
India.
okay.
Our rugby rivalry is New Zealand. Australia when they're better. And we've added Argentina. But that is the people we play rugby against. And that is our rivalry. No one up north. My personal feeling.
And on that bombshell, he dropped the mic.
Klaar.
Safini.
Safini.
Safini. Gio, thank you, meneer. I wish
Thank
we
you,
had 3
guys.
hours to talk
Yeah.
about
Again.
He would never say he sits in the office. Eh?
Yeah.
He's watching this YouTube rugby clips in the office. That's why he knows
So
all this
you're
knowledge.
saying I'm not working now?
Hey, boss is watching.
Yeah.
Gio, thank you very much for making the time. I mean, it's all nice for you to come into the studio, wrapping things up for us. It's special for us. I mean, the Ruckers loves it as well.
Yeah,
I mean, thank you for making the time. And hopefully the next competition is quicker. We can't
No,
wait so
we
long.
see him after the end of the year to a Ruck.
As ik een man is, on the surfboard. Thank you guys for having me. It's always it's a pleasure to be here, but it's always thank you for having me and listening to me. I can speak a lot of nonsense sometimes.
Love to see it. Yeah. Hey guys, and that's Gio Aplon.
Come on.
The headgears is coming in hot. It's too much headgears. Morphin time everywhere. It's too much power.
Partner, we had to put the lights off, the load shedding on for John. I think he didn't want to stop talking rugby.
Yes. I don't know. Is he a coach? What is he?
He should be a coach. I think.
Yeah, his knowledge
I don't
of the
want to
game.
say they should fire him, but damn it, we're missing out on a lot of rugby knowledge. And I'm in awe sometimes listening to him.
Yeah.
The way he sees the game, his knowledge about the game. Man, rugby is a game that I can't get enough. I can't get enough, partner.
Unbelievable. It's lucky to have him, man. I mean, it's been 5 times.
5 times, he's a friend of the show.
He's a friend of the show?
Yes.
Okay.
Hopefully, he won't be charging us.
Yeah,
but,
we'll check the
we're
FNB.
good human beings, we're good people, Gio, so just keep it to that, okay?
Keep it no, but it's lucky to have him. And I mean, the Ruckers as well. They enjoy having him on the show.
They love him. They love him.
And while we talk about love, it's the URC.
Yeah.
We love rugby at all times. Once we get to the fixtures, not a great week for South Africa. But
great week. South Africa, the Bulls won. I don't know about the Stormers. The Bulls won. It was a great week.
We're a family of 4.
Okay, apologize.
Talk about family of 4. Okay, to get to the fixtures, first game is Emirates Lions versus Edinburgh. We've got the Bulls versus the Ulster, Dragons versus the Sharks, Zebra versus the Stormers. We got two away teams and 2 home teams.
Look,
what are you looking forward to? Not the Bulls, Stormers.
No, I'm confident about the Bulls against Ulster. The Stormers have to win against them.
Yeah, we're getting desperate. We don't want that same tour that we had last year, 4-0.
Yeah, it feels weird that the box played and now the URC. So I still think I have to transition from international rugby into URC and acclimatize. It's like going from winter to summer. So I still have to acclimatize that URC has started. But hopefully South African teams can dominate. Hopefully we can have an early and quick start to our season leading into the Champions Cup. A lot of our youngsters getting game time while the Boks are resting. So,
new talent coming up.
Really good opportunities for the boys to put their foot down early and making sure that South African rugby stay on top of it.
Yeah, I must acclimatize as well. And Stormers results. Come on.
Come on, Stormers. What are we doing? Come on, Wikis.
Exciting time, so exciting weekend. So, guys, while we wrap it up, Behind the Ruck is supported by SuperSport Bet, the one and only. And I'm not going to say again, get yours. Okay, it's so time, get yours. And that new sheriff in town, talk about that ticket. Bro, time to get your tickets and go to the games.
And Ruckers, I want to always ask you guys, please, if you haven't subscribed yet, click the thing below.
Smash the button, man.
Smash the button. It's important for it so we can obviously grow our channel continuously. But for everyone that's always been in our boat and supporting us, thank you so much. Thank you for watching this episode again.
Yeah.
Make sure that you send this episode to the ends of the world. I want to sit in Antarctica and talk about rugby. That is my dream. Okay?
Mine too. Okay? Yeah.
All right.
And listening is a skill. They must listen.
Listen.
Okay?
What do I always say? Listen to understand, not to reply. Thank you, Boykie.
We're learning all the time. Hey guys, I'm Juan.
I'm Rudy Page.
And the Ruck is clear.
See you next week.